we were out playing sport on the oval. One of the kids yelled out, look up in the sky, it's flying saucers. And I remember we all looked up and it really was a flying saucer. I mean, from what you imagine, a flying saucer, it was a round silver disc. And it seemed to be very low over the school. And I remember kids screaming and running inside.
This student came in, was hysterical, leaned up against a sliding door, screaming, there's a flying saucer in the oval. And, of course, everybody started to head towards the door and the teacher said, sit down, it's not recess yet. And a few minutes later, the bell went off.
Everyone started moving, like a whole lot of zebras being terrified by crocodiles. I went where the herd went. Barbara Robbins was the chemistry teacher at the time. She just grabbed a camera and started clicking.
I went into the staff room. Because I knew I wouldn't have a chance to have a cup of tea any other time, I went to get a cup of tea. And then because I was a smoker, and this is something that has stayed with me for 42 years.
Yes.
I lit up a cigarette, and so I don't know how much I delayed before I went outside.
Everyone just took off out into the oval. In time to see it lifting off from the oval, it was probably, 50 feet or more in the air at that stage.
I see Andrew Greenwood, the science teacher, coming towards me, and he said, did you see it? Did you see it? And he pointed up in the air, and I said, no, see what? I have a very, very clear picture of him, and I remember almost exactly what he said. And he said it was up in the sky, it moved at incredible speeds, it hovered, it seemed to go away, and there seemed to be light planes. He thought Cessnas he thought they were actually checking it out from the Roman airport, and they were circling around it.
Sort of stopped dead. And stopped dead in the air, and then it just sort of started descending straight down. And I'd say it got down about halfway up that gum tree or above the goalpost and sat there for a while, and then it just sort of lifted straight up and then just took straight off.
This thing went down behind the trees, then it came up, and it was like it had become aware of these planes coming in, and it just went woof and just left them like they were standing still.
And then it went across to an area called the Grange, which was a bit of a pine plantation behind the school. A lot of the kids took off towards where it seemed to go, and it disappeared down behind the trees. So we all got through this fence and ran towards where it had appeared to land.
Tanya and I and this other girl, we were over the fence. Tanya was in the lead, and we ran towards where it was coming down. I lost sight of Tanya. She was in front of me.
A couple of girls got there faster than me. I was a bit slow, and they'd actually passed out. And apparently it did land, because when we got there, there was a great big round patch of like flattened yellow, almost burnt, although I'm a bit sketchy on that. I can't remember if it was really burnt or whether it was just flattened, but it was sort of yellow, and the grass was all flattened in a swirly sort of a pattern.
Before I got there, the disc came back up again. So I stopped chasing it.
We looked up and we just saw this saucer type thing taking off, and it seemed to turn side on and just disappear into thin air.
Well, what about your friend Tanya?
I believe she did see it on the ground.
She did see it on the ground?
So I was given to believe, yes. But I went back to school, and Tanya went back to school and basically had gone all to pieces. There was definitely an ambulance on the oval, and I was told that she'd been taken away in the ambulance, and that was the last time I ever saw her.
Wow.
She was just gone, and she never came back to school.
Tanya wasn't the only person who saw the craft on the ground. Before they headed over to the Grange, Victor Zakruzny says 2 objects landed in a grassy paddock where a street is now.
All the kids were hanging on the fence there. There's quite a few kids there. It's a high fence, and I got up to the top there, and all you could see is two discs, one there and one a bit further away, probably 3 metres apart. I could hear somebody in the background saying, "Stay away, don't jump the fence." And so I said, "Oh, bugger, I'm going over the fence." The craft probably would have been about there, and there was another one set back a bit on an angle, probably just about there. There's a few kids walking around there, and I was the only one on this side. I got up to it to want to touch it, and it was, well, you could feel heat about a metre away coming from. It was pretty warm or hot, and within a minute or so, it just, both of them just lifted up at the same time, about this height. And I seen, that was breathtaking watching that, and then it just gradually lifted up, and then went off towards the pines. I did a rough sketch of it.
Wow, look at that. This is the view from underneath.
That's underneath. There's no seams, no joints, it's just smooth metal. Normally an aircraft has sheet metal, pipe rivets, or all that sort of stuff there. This looked like come out of a mould or something like that, all one smooth piece of metal. It was just incredible. It's just something like you see in the movies.
On September 14th, 1994, something flashed through the sky in southern Africa, alarming a few and confounding everyone. It was a UFO. 2 days later, 62 school children in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, claimed they had seen a UFO land in the schoolyard. It was dismissed as fantasy until one UFO researcher began insisting that the children were telling the truth.
This object landed with the 3 or 4 things beside it, and then a door opened, and this little man got out, who had on a black suit.
Cynthia Hind is one of Africa's leading ufologists. She interviewed the children the day after their encounter and had them draw pictures of the strange visitors they had seen.
They were very slim, the suit was black, but it was the eyes that was frightening.
In 1995, Hind brought worldwide attention to the Ruwa children when she presented their case at the 8th International UFO Congress in Sheffield, England.
Why don't they try and form some sort of panel, not necessarily Americans, it could be United Nations, to check out these stories? Why would 62 children lie?
In Ruwa, a few weeks after the conference, a full on-site investigation began under the direction of Harvard professor of psychiatry, Dr. John Mack, who is now producing a documentary film about the Ruwa encounter.
It was silver, and the ring around it was red.
Was red. Did light come from the whole thing, or?
There are lights around here.
Lights along the edge there. How many of the strange beings did you see?
I saw one over here. They had eyes like that, and they were kind of just like looking at us. They were like kind of astonished at what we were. I felt scared.
It felt scary? What was scary about it?
Oh, I felt scared because I've never seen such a person like that before.
They experienced very powerful encounters with these beings and were left with the rather disturbing fact that this seems to be what it is. And it seems to have no other psychiatric explanation.
More disturbing still was what the children told Dr. Mack about the purpose of the alien visit. It was a dire warning Mack had heard more than 100 times before from people in the United States, half a world away. And yet their doomsday scenario was being repeated to the last detail by the Ruwa children.
Fungi, what do you imagine is his reason for visiting Earth?
I think it's about something that's going to happen.
Something that's going to happen?
Yes. What I thought was maybe the world's going to end. Maybe they're telling us the world's going to end. I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on this world and we mustn't get too technologed.
How did that get communicated to you?
I don't really know, but it just popped up in my head.
Pollution?
Yes. He never said anything. It's just that the face is the eyes. They looked horrible.
And the eyes, the horrible look, had that information that you just told me?
Yes.
Now, the people in Africa don't have television. They might have a radio, but I can tell you the media don't deal with UFOs there. They're a bit nervous of it. So where would they pick it up? Is it a mass telepathy?
While some researchers are suggesting the Ruwa sightings were created by mass hallucination, Dr. Mack hears a different story from the children.
If someone were to say, well, you know, you just have a lively imagination and you made this up, what would you say?
I haven't been influenced by any of my friends. I have seen what I've seen.
Este lugar pudiera ser uno de ellos.
Bueno, era el 12 de septiembre de 1996. Alrededor de la medianoche estábamos aquí, Susana, Janet y yo acostados en esta cama. Ellas dos tenían su cabeza allá en la almohada y yo estaba acostado para acá, mirando las estrellas. Y entonces allá había mucha calma, mucha tranquilidad, todo el mundo estaba dormido en silencio. De pronto yo siento mucho aire. Vino un aire, mucho aire. Se iluminó toda esta hilera de aquí, se iluminó. Y sentimos un ruido como un zumbido. Y yo observo para arriba para ver de dónde venía la luz y el sonido. Y veo un objeto de forma alargada, con luces alrededor intermitentes, blancas y rojas, que pasaba por aquí, pero muy despacio. No podía haber sido ni un avión, ni un helicóptero, porque no podía haber pasado por ahí y tan despacio. Yo nunca he visto un avión tan despacio, era muy despacio, pasando por allá. Luego miré que veía la parte de abajo redonda, con luces alrededor, roja, blanca y azul. Y en medio era plateado. Entonces, yo me quedé mirando y después hizo así, y se perdió por ahí.
Al día siguiente, por la noche, un grupo de niñas fueron a hacer baño. Y en ese instante sintieron ese viento y ese ruido y se asomaron por la ventana del baño para ver si eran ellos. Entonces, una de las que la vio, dijo, sí, es el ovni que vimos ayer. Y empezaron a gritar y todas nosotros nos despertamos y fuimos para el baño. Y ahí empezamos a hablar de cómo que así mismo era, como nosotros habíamos visto el día anterior, y vinimos y recogimos todas las cosas de la cama y nos fuimos para el baño a dormir. Y el viento volvía y cuando nosotros nos callábamos y no hablábamos, empezaba el ruido y el aire. Y cuando nosotros empezábamos a hablar, se sentía nada más que la voz de nosotros. Y volvían y se caían en los pecheros, las sábanas y todo.
¿Tenían miedo?
Y teníamos mucho miedo. Y un helicóptero no era, porque eso no tenía ni aletas ni nada. Y el ruido de un helicóptero no se parecía en nada al del ovni, porque el ovni era como un zumbido.
Y cuando se iluminó todos los veces, todas las niñas se bajaron de la cama, que era más temprano, y corrieron todo el mundo para allá, para el baño, y empezamos a intercambiar ideas, niñas que lo habían visto otros días, empezamos a relacionar ideas, cosas que concretaban ideas, que había ideas, no sé, el ovni que yo había visto cuando era más pequeña, que era igual a él, y ahí nos quedamos dormidos.
Cuéntame esa historia.
Bueno, cuando yo estaba en quinto grado, estaba en el baño de la recepción, allá adelante, y vinieron unas amiguitas mías diciendo, Dale, corre, el ovni. Eso fue cuando pasó por Cárdenas, que hubo el lío del ovni, que pasaba. Subí hasta aquí esa escalera de abajo, y aquí encima de la terraza, como flotando en el aire estaba este mismo objeto, ovalado, con las luces, era una luz blanca, muy grande, una roja y una blanca. Y aquí tenía una blanca de lleno blanco, resplandecían de luces blancas. Y subí las escaleras para acercarme mejor, pero lo vimos así. Y eso se convirtió en una luz y desapareció por allá.
Yo aquí trataré de dibujarle lo que yo vi más o menos como yo puedo apreciarlo. Era de esta manera. Y aquí tenía muchas luces. Estos focos eran las luces, que eran blancas, rojas y blancas y rojas.
Voy a dibujar el objeto desde la lado que yo lo vi, es decir, su parte exterior. Bueno, era redondo, con luces alrededor, en rojas, azules, blancas, y así se repetían los colores. En el medio era con unas raíces así como si fuera así, y plateado así, y que iluminaba todo hacia adentro.
When the light source reappears, the four unknowns have formed a tight formation. They then gain speed and altitude. Banking to the left over Atlisco, they vanish into the night sky over the Zona de Volcanica, headed east towards the Gulf of Mexico. Reports of massive sightings started coming in from the state of Veracruz. In the city of Costa Rica, 20 school children artistically described their observation of a low-flying UFO, an experience that was validated by their teacher.
My friend Philip here was trying to find a way over the stream, and I was looking at the bushes up the top of the trees. And then suddenly this silver cigar-shaped object seemed to pop up from behind the bushes and trying to take off. Then it disappeared again.
Well, I saw the spaceship. I didn't see the man. The spaceship, it looked a cigar shape with a dome on it. And it had a yellowy, orange to red light on the top of it.
How clearly did you see it?
Well, I couldn't see its face because it was too far away.
Oh, you say you saw a man as well, did you?
Yes.
And what about him?
Well, he was too far away to be seen as well.
Are you sure it wasn't perhaps just a helicopter or an aircraft from the airfield near here?
A helicopter could land there, but that's private property over there. And if they landed there, they could be prosecuted. And with an aircraft, the only thing they could get in there was a Harrier.
Were you frightened at the time?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I thought there would be a whole arm inside there or something.
I know that 16 children saw it.
And did they all see the same thing, do you think?
There's a common core of similarity between all their descriptions. I got them to draw and to write what they saw.
I'm absolutely sure of what I saw that day. I saw an object that was large, cigar-shaped, silver. After 30 years, I'm no nearer the understanding than I was on the day that I saw it, but I am 100% sure that what I saw that day is as we reported it.
The chap here in the blue sweater, now you've got a good view of it. What do you think it was?
I think it was a spaceship.
A spaceship?
Yep.
Why do you think that, in all seriousness?
Well, it had a hole through the middle, but it was sort of hard around the edge outside. The clouds couldn't pass through the outside of it. Could go through the middle, though.
Have you ever seen anything like it before?
No. Not nothing like that.
And how long were you able to see it?
I was up in the window. I saw it about 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Was it sort of hovering, or...?
No, it's just going around like a wheel. Just going over.
Now, you got a good view of it. Describe it to me.
Well, it was sort of blackish grey wing going across the sky, and it was dark on one side, and in the bottom it had a sort of little line through it, and it was moving across the sky slowly, and then it disappeared behind a tree.
Miss Green, did you see the phantom object yourself?
I saw it, yes.
Now, how would you describe it?
Very much as the children did, as it appeared to be a smoke ring. That's the best way that I can describe it, as a smoke ring.
Any theories as to what it
might be? No theories at all. None at all.
I mean, obviously people are going to speculate men from Mars or what have you. I mean,
the only thing I can say really is that I'm glad there were a lot of other people saw it at the same time as I did.
Er was een dikke tennisbal en die was ongeveer daar. En toen ging hij zo heen en weer.
En dan ging hij daar weer heen. En dan was hij weer even weg. En dan kwam hij daar weer tevoorschijn.
En ineens zagen we achter een huis, een soort met paddenstoel leek het wel.
Het was wel leuk om te zien. En, ja. Je moest kunnen zien wat er gebeurde, dus je had nergens tijd voor een bank te wezen.
En ik zag groen licht en zij zag rood licht.
Ja, het was heel vreemd, want je ziet toch meestal dezelfde kleur. En nou ja, hij leek op paddenstoel, die anders zeggen dat er op tennisbal leek. Maar Ja, zo'n paddenstoelachtig van AWB, zo'n fietspaddenstoel.
But here in Hillsdale, a Michigan county seat town and the home of Hillsdale College, 87 co-eds aren't sure. They say that together, on a Monday night in early April, they watched a craft of some kind for several hours.
Well, about 11:20 or so, I was in this room, and there'd been a thunderstorm outside, and several of us were watching what was left of the storm. It had actually ended about 10:30, but we were watching, the light rain outside, and we saw a bright white light right over there. You can see out the window. And at first we thought it was a house because it was so luminous and so bright. It was a big light. And then about 15 minutes later, it changed color. It was red. And then it went back to white, and then it moved up, just like this, level. The light stayed in the same position. And then a green light came on. And all the time when all the girls were running to the windows looking, all I kept saying, what is it? We weren't scared at all. We just wanted to know what it was. And the police cars, as they headed down the road, their headlights were aimed in the direction of the three lights that we saw. At this point, the red light and the green light went out, and the white light became very, very dim. And the object went way down into the trees. And it was almost completely invisible. We had to strain our eyes to see it. Now, many people said, well, it probably is some kind of a weather balloon or something, but actually, I think the opinion of many people was that it was from somewhere outside our universe. There was only once that I thought I saw a shape, and it was a disc-shaped, there was a silver reflection. And as I said, the lights were going like this. Now, there's an airport beacon light over to the right. It was over to the right and above the object. And it appeared to us that this thing was trying to get up through the light. And it would go up, and then when the light would come back around to where it would go down again. And it was moving back this whole time. And as I said, it was a very brilliant green. It wasn't like an airplane light or a light you see on a neon sign. Maybe it was unmanned, maybe there was something in it. My opinion is that I thought there was probably somebody in it coming down to check, to see the environment, to see if possible if they could get out, and just looking around, looking at the trees and stuff. Maybe they don't have trees, maybe they don't have this. And it also, why should we be egotistical enough to think that we are the only people in the universe? Since then, it seems like everything that we've said and everything that other people have said, they just seem to try and whitewash it, cover it up. And I don't know. I don't really think it's a government project or anything like that. But if it is something from another planet, I think they're trying to keep it fairly quiet.
This is Hillsdale, and the girls at Hillsdale College had a night to remember.
Well, when I was looking out the window with binoculars, I guess it was about 12, I saw it, and I saw two red lights, and I saw what looked to be shaped like a pie. I could just see the front of it, and I just saw the round front, and I could see the lights on either side. And then the red light was sort of casting a glow over the whole thing, so it looked like a round disc.
At first, when I'd heard the other girls talk about it, I believed them, yet I couldn't really make myself comprehend it because I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. But then when I saw it, I just was fascinated. I wasn't afraid. I just wanted to stay there and keep my eyes glued to it. I couldn't leave.
I know I saw it, but, I know myself I saw it, but I believe I saw it, but I can't fathom it because it seems so unreal.
One of my favorite cases occurred on October 22nd, 1954 in Marysville, Ohio, to the Jerome Elementary School. It was a beautiful day. The kids had been good, so they got an extra recess. Around 3:15 p.m., a bright disc-like object showed up in the sky. It was very low. It had very bright lights. Finally, some of the students decided to go get the teacher, and they got the principal, Mr. Warwick, He runs out and sees this thing. He said it was almost too bright to look at. He's never seen anything like it before or since. And he called for another teacher, Miss Dittmar, to come out and look at it as well. She comes running out, at which point it disappears. She didn't get to see it. But following this, the entire sky filled with this weird cotton candy-like substance. We now know it as angel hair. We're not sure what it is, but it's a very fibrous, light, white-colored substance that looks very much like cotton or cotton candy. And it fell over the school for the next hour or so. Miss Dittmar said it was absolutely beautiful. It covered the entire playground and about a 3-mile circle radius. Some of the students collected this stuff up, brought it to the teachers, who took it into their hands and coiled it up, and it formed small gelatinous balls, which eventually just dehydrated or dissipated and disappeared. It turned both of the teachers' hands green, however, temporarily. It's an interesting case. They did manage to save a sample, which they sent to Lockbourne Air Force Base, but never heard back from them. What's interesting about this case is years later, researchers found out that Robert C. White, an Air Force officer who worked in a governmental capacity studying UFOs, had heard about this case. It generated special interest in his office because they were not able to solve it.
Now, the reason why angel hair in Marysville, Jerome, is felt to be a strong case by, I think, most of the serious UFO researchers. A lot of modern-day UFO researchers, or alleged researchers, I put that in quotes, are actually pretty wacko-type people who are just really selling pop entertainment, and so you wouldn't even get this out of them. They probably don't even know about the Marysville case. But the serious historical, document-based UFO researchers, they'll know about Marysville.
Yeah, have you received any reports Monday on a UFO sighting in the Downey area or Whittier area or Lakewood area?
No, sir. Did you see something?
Well, my little girl and her classmates saw it, and then I found, well, this is Monday when they saw it. They were playing at school, and then I heard from other people who also, my mother-in-law who teaches, different people in her class were talking about it, but my little girl and her classmates got it came right down over their school, and they were able to make drawings of it. And this was Monday around, I would guess around 11 o'clock, 11:30, and we're in a apartment complex practically right behind the school. And on Monday at, I say between 11 and 11:30, a vibration kind of started in the apartment in which we're living. I don't know if it was felt throughout the rest of the units, but anyway, the apartment in which we're living started to vibrate, and I didn't connect it to until she told us of this. Well, she described it, and she told us that evening, Monday evening, about it. And then I happened to think of that vibration, which I couldn't account for, because when it started, it wasn't caused by anything I could relate it to.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, I was curious because she wasn't the first one to see it. Some of her classmates saw it, and then our little girl saw it, and she's 7. And she was able to make this drawing of it, and the stories, the stories all corroborate. So I called the school, and they to ask if there was if the children had been talking about it, and they said no, they not to their knowledge, but they did talk to the girls that saw it.
Okay, what kind of description did they give on this thing?
The way he described it was that they were playing, and in the schoolyard, and it's the elementary school, and the one classmate called the other children's attention to it, and she said it was like a big silver ball, and she said it was as bright as the sun. It seemed to be as bright as the sun, and it was coming and it was over the school. And on that day, Monday, it was the visibility here was perfect. The sky was blue. There were no clouds, and it was a unusually clear condition. There was no smog. And she said it was like a big silver ball. And then she said it was surrounded by rings of color. And she said it was like trying to come down to us. And she then said, in the center of it, there appeared another bright sun. She said a real bright sun in the center of it. And that got real bright. And at that point, they became frightened. So I said, how large was it? She said it was about as large as a street. Well, she meant as large as a street is wide, I guess.
Right.
And we took her to the school, and on the school playground, like they have these areas more stenciled out on the paving for games and so forth. And there's a very large circle, and the circle must be at least 30 feet in diameter. And I said, now, was it as large as this circle? She said, oh yeah. She said, it was bigger than that. And she said, they stayed there, and it was watching them. As she put it, she said it was watching them. So I said, well, what happened then? She said, well, the school bell rang, and we went in, and she said, I looked over my shoulder to look at it again. And she said, it will probably come back tomorrow. So we questioned the other girls, and the story is the same with them, and it's the damnedest thing. So my mother-in-law was at class the other day, and they were talking about something. I don't know exactly what they were talking about, more or less the same thing, a UFO sighting. And so I called the police department to see if there were any reports, but this was Monday night now, so she said you'd have to call back earlier tomorrow. So, and they gave me your number. So the thing that puzzles me is that the kids were able to describe this thing. And oh yeah, they were. I said, well, now what were these rings coming out from it? She said, well, they were like the colors in the rainbow. And then she said no. She said they were colored, but they weren't like the rainbow. But there were two rings, and they came out from it. And I said, now this bright sun that came out of the center of it. I said, was it there all the time? She said, no. She says when it wasn't there before, there was just like a big gray area. So it's just an amazing thing. And then this vibration that we felt in the apartment complex had to happen at the same time, because I connected the two. And they were at recess around 11:30, between 11 and 11:30, and that's when this vibration started. Uh-huh. And it only lasted for, I would say the vibration only lasted for 10 or 15 seconds at the most. So I think it was just something that I'm surprised that others at the school didn't see it, but I haven't really gone over there. I was going to take the drawings that these little girls made and take them over and ask perhaps if someone, maybe an adult teacher or someone else might have seen it.
Okay, did they actually see this object leave?
Pardon me?
Did they see the object leave?
No, they all went into they all went back into the classroom.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and she said when she looked over her shoulder, it was still there.
Okay, did they give any estimate as how high that thing was?
Yeah. I was trying to have her give me an idea, and we were looking at some poles, some high poles, and it would be my guess. She pointed to a really high pole, and it would be my guess it was at least several hundred feet, maybe several hundred feet off the ground. But from the way she describes it, as large as she described it, like this circle, I was trying. Yeah. See, my wife was saying that after she drew the picture, we have a film can here. It's like a can they put film in. And I said, well, the funny part of it was when it did the drawings. I said, now you draw what it looked like. So she drew her classmates on the ground on a separate piece of paper, and the playground, most of the trees and swings. And she named each of her friends. And then she drew on another piece of paper the round object, and she drew it perfectly round, and around the perimeter she put these two rings that were coming out from it, and then right in the center she drew a smaller circle, which she colored yellow. So she was trying to, I was looking at her, she didn't know I was watching her, but she was puzzled because she put the piece of paper that had the object on it above the piece of paper that had she and her classmates playing. And she knew she wasn't quite getting it the way she wanted it. So my wife put the paper on which she drew the object at right angles, and she says, yes. She says, that's how it was. It was like right above us. So then we held up this film can, and we said, now, was it solid looking like this? Was it metallic looking? And she says, yes. She says, it was silver and metallic looking. And so the size of it, if it was larger than this circle, it had to be quite low, because this circle, as I said, is at least 30 feet in diameter. So she gave as good a description of something that you could certainly ever hope for.
Did they hear any sound?
No, I asked her, and she says no, there was no sound. And when she said, when we asked her if there was any sound, when she said there was no sound, that's when I remember the vibration.
Okay.
And so whatever that vibration was, it was very unsettling. The vibration, when it started, it was really unsettling because it was like a high intensity vibration. That is, the dishes and things were rattling. It was like a very high, however you might describe it. Things were just like humming.
Uh-huh. Okay. And how old was she?
She's 7.
7, okay.
Yeah. I asked her if the rest of her classmates saw it, and she said, well, she didn't know because they were looking up at it. But she wasn't the first one to see it. It was her friend, and then about 4 of her friends were all looking up at it, she said. And she said they were looking straight up at it. So she craned put her head back, and it had to be almost directly overhead.
Okay. Did they actually see this thing descending towards them, or was it stationary?
I don't know. I don't know when saw it. I would have to ask her that.
Did she mention how many were in that group of children?
I would say about 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Okay.
Yeah, she knows them by name because I guess they're all the same age.
Okay. Do you still have those drawings?
Oh yeah, we have the drawings, and they're humorous because the way she does the way she drew the children, and then this object.
Uh-huh. Okay. Is there any possibility of getting those?
Oh, sure. Okay. Be happy.
We can get a letter off to you about that. All right, sir. Well, we sure appreciate this report, and we're going to check into this right away and see if we can't come up with some information on it. And it's the object which she has described, or you've described to me, would fit the category of what we refer to as the Saturn-type object, a sphere surrounded by rotating bands or colored bands right down through the center. And it comes as a surprise that this took place in broad daylight like this, because this usually doesn't happen. But we're going to we'll check into it anyway and see if we can't come up with some more information, and if we get it, we'll get back to you and let you know.
Okay. Well, thank you now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bye. Yes, sir. I'm calling for the UFO Reporting Center in Washington.
Oh, yes.
And we had an unnamed caller left a message at our office today regarding something that you were supposed to have seen several days ago.
Where are you calling from?
Seattle, Washington.
Oh, no, that was my son left you that.
I see.
No, I didn't see it myself. This happened about a block away from where I live. About 15 school children saw it, and the teacher.
Oh, I see.
And one of the school children was my daughter. That's how it came to mind. Boy, it was a wonderful sighting. Jesus. The thing hung there for 5 minutes, and all the kids just stared at it. Do you want me to tell you about it? Or?
Yes, sir. We'd like to hear all about it.
Well, there's a little canyon behind. You know where Encinitas is?
No, sir.
No.
Well, I do by the map.
About 30 miles north of San Diego.
Okay.
Right along the ocean. My children go to a school called Ocean Knoll, and there's a small canyon right behind the school. And at 8:30, they saw this thing go down in that canyon. Now, whether it ever landed there or just hovered down in there, I don't know. And they were trying to climb. There was a fence around the play yard, of course, and they couldn't get out of the play yard, but they were trying to climb the fence so they could look down in the canyon, but they couldn't see it. And then an hour later, at 9:30, this thing came up out of the canyon and just hovered right at eye level where they could look right in the windows and everything, see the people inside. Jesus. And it just hovered there for about 5 minutes. And finally it raised up and it came over and it circled the schoolyard. And with all the kids looking at it. And then they say it disappeared just by going right straight up in the air till it disappeared out of sight. Now, the strange thing about this whole thing, they run in and tell their teacher what they saw, and the teacher says, just forget it. Forget you saw anything. And I can't understand that mentality. It just baffles me. And the teacher that stood there and saw it with him told the kids to forget they saw anything.
Right. Well, we run into this.
You run into that all the time?
Yes.
It just it baffles me and enrages me at the same time that they would tell my, to see a UFO is one of the sights to see in this century. One of the great sights, if you're lucky enough to see one. And there my daughter saw one and told to forget about it.
Right. Now, how old was your daughter?
She's 10.
10, okay.
She's 10.
That's a good observing age.
Yeah, and there was a girl that had a pair of binoculars, just happened to have a pair, they were going to watch birds or something. And she watched this thing through binoculars. And we went over to the house to see her. And because the teacher, well, we didn't see her at the house, she wasn't there. But my wife saw her later that day in a store. And she said, tell us about the UFO. And she said, I didn't see anything, we didn't see anything. And the girl was probably the best that saw the thing best of all of them,
Uh-huh.
But turned off by the teacher's attitude. And another little boy that was all excited about it and everything, like, his reaction was the same thing. That wasn't nothing. But at the time, my daughter was telling me he was all excited and he knew what a UFO was and everything, but that they turned him off on it. Did you run into that all the time?
Oh, yes, sure. Now, do you remember the exact date on that?
Yeah, it was Friday a week ago in the morning. I'd have to get a calendar and tell you.
That would be a week ago last Friday?
This last Friday. That
okay,
day.
then that would probably be May 6th.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Now, the real story is to get these kids together and get them, and let them tell you what they saw. But it was, we did talk to some other kids that saw it. There was about 5 kids in one family, and they were all excited about it. And I tried to corroborate what everyone said, about it didn't make any noise and didn't make any noise. But one boy insisted it didn't make any noise, but my daughter says it did make a noise, like a slight roar,
Uh-huh.
But they all agreed on the color, and they all agreed that it had windows in the side. They all agreed that you could look in and see people inside. I say people, and they said that the one boy said they looked like they had masks over their faces. And my little girl said they looked like their faces were all rough, like.
Uh-huh.
Funny observation, Yeah. But they generally agreed where it was and what it did and how it disappeared. They all agreed on that, It circled over the schoolyard and just went right on straight up in the air, and they never saw it again. Now, this was a UFO. This is no helicopter or an airplane, because my little girl has seen thousands of them, She couldn't possibly have.
Okay, now what kind of description did she give of this vehicle?
Silver.
Silver?
And she said, Daddy, it looked just like a plate. It was flat on the bottom and round on the top.
Uh-huh.
So the traditional saucer thing,
Right.
And it had, and they made another observation there, that as it caught the light of the sun, certain parts of it would just flash brilliantly. Now, whether that was just they seem to think it was a reflection from the sun on some reflectors that were on the object itself,
Right.
But it flashed brilliantly, and it had lights on it. Yellow, blue lights on it that blinked.
And that object actually came up over the schoolyard?
Came up, yeah. But the best observation was when it came out of this little canyon behind. Now, I went down in that canyon. I'm disabled right now, and I'm on crutches, and I couldn't really get around very good down there. And we covered about maybe 1/4 of the canyon the next 2 days, trying to see if we could see anything down there, But it's so bushy and hard to get around there. I really couldn't go over it right. It'd take able-bodied, 2 or 3 able-bodied men could go over that in an hour. Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's just a small can, just a little thing.
Okay. Did your daughter make any drawings or sketches?
Yeah, she did make me a little drawing, yeah. I asked her to draw me, and we had her, I guess she still got it, I don't know, it was around here.
What was her first name?
Her first name is...
Okay. And how many witnesses or kids do you think there were?
I think there were at least 15 kids.
And the teacher?
And the teacher, I know her name, but I've forgotten it right now.
Okay.
Anyway. But I called the San Diego paper. They had no interest in it at all. I called Channel 8, which is the local TV, and they had no interest in it at all. I thought society, I was disappointed. I thought society was more sophisticated at this time on that sort of thing. But they're hung up on their old fears, I guess. They always did, something you don't understand, forget it.
Right. Well, this is very interesting in as much as we had a somewhat similar incident happen near Downey on the 1st, Monday the 2nd of May.
Up in Downey, yeah.
Right.
That's in the heart of the city.
Yeah, right. The object came down right over the schoolyard, right in the middle of recess.
It did. Well, the same thing happened here, yeah. And how was that described?
Just as a very bright silver object. They couldn't make out any real structural parts on the object. It was a brilliant light, and of course, in this particular case, the students, they got quite panic-stricken and ran into the school, and by the time they looked back out again, the thing had gone. But
what day was that? Was that anywhere near the Friday that...
It was May 2nd, Monday, May 2nd.
So that was in the same week, wasn't it?
Right.
Geez, that's interesting. But they didn't have the same situation there where the teachers told the kids not to... Or maybe they were older
kids. Not to my knowledge. I talked to one of the girls' fathers, and he had pretty well quizzed his daughter regarding the incident, and he was going to get in contact with other parents whose children were involved and see if they couldn't correlate all the information.
Were they older, or what grade were they?
Grade school.
Grade school, elementary, huh?
Right.
Yeah, this is elementary too, yeah. Up to 6th grade,
In fact, I think his daughter was about 7.5.
Oh.
Something like that.
And how many people saw it? How many children saw it?
I don't remember the group, but it was a pretty large group of kids.
Geez, only 5 days away, huh? They saw it on Monday, and then this thing was seen again on that same Friday. What in the world it would do? What would it be doing down in that canyon for an hour? Do you have any idea?
Well, of course, going down into canyons like that is quite common for these vehicles, but what is really important is the fact that the incident occurred during daylight hours, which is very rare.
Yeah. Oh, was the other one in the evening or something?
No, that was 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, be darned. Somehow, they must have had some business in there. They were collecting soil samples.
Well, so they're ever doing something like that or getting out of the way of radar.
Or getting out of the way of radar, huh?
Right.
Oh. And down there, my daughter remembers that it was exactly an hour because she saw it go down, and she remembered they come out for recess at 9:30 again. And then when it come up out of the canyon, she happened to see it, and the kids all stood there with their mouth hanging open.
Okay, if we got a questionnaire off to you, could you kind of work with your daughter to fill that in?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Also, if we could get some investigators in there, would you kind of operate as the hub to get them started?
I would be glad to cooperate with anybody. It just infuriates me that they're going to just, ignore the whole thing.
Where did your son finally get our number?
I gave it to him.
Oh, I see.
I called the sheriff department and they gave me your number.
Great.
But since I don't have very much money right now, I didn't call because I found out I was out of town. I just couldn't afford it. So he has more money. He said, "Give me a number, I'll call it." So he did. That's how that happened. But if you want to send anybody around, I'd be glad to cooperate with them and show them where it is in the canyon.
Was there any estimated distance between the witnesses and the object?
I estimate that I don't think it could have been over 100 foot. They were right on top of the thing, staring right into it. Yeah, the average flying, as you know, the average flying saucer or UFO sighting is we saw two objects fly at approximately 5,000 feet going northwest or something, you know?
Right.
Well, they're valueless. This was a wonderful sighting. The ground level, and they're going to just ignore it. I can't believe it.
Well, we'll get somebody in there to dig that out.
I wish you would. I don't have the time, or I can't do it because I'm disabled, but I'll cooperate. I'd love to cooperate with you.
Well, we sure appreciate that very much.
Okay.